Hey, what's up, everybody? I am back with another video. I was on vacation in Vegas, had some fun. Now we're back at it. Yeah, everything is still holding up very well. Bitcoin back above 67,000. We got a big, supposedly, a speech tomorrow by Trump with a bunch of Bitcoiners. I know it's Michael Saylor's going to be there, Russell Brand, Edward Snowden, Trump, RFK, Kathy Wood, Vivek. I mean, I'm sure there's more. So that shall be interesting. So, are we going to get a pump out of that sort of little speech, or are we going to get a dump? That is the question. Um, for the next, several weeks and months for the trading. But overall, I think it's incredibly bullish for Bitcoin and crypto long term, especially knowing that Trump's going to win the election. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. And he's pro crypto. I think it's only going to set up the biggest future, the brightest future possibly for crypto. I mean, there's no other alternative. Yeah, it shall be interesting. But right now, we can see we're still climbing higher in here, right? We just came back and revisited this previous swing high. So my question is, right, is this 1, 2, 3, 4, and now we're going to get 5? Or is this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now we're going to get A, B, C, and then go? That's the question, right? Because if we're going to get another wave to the upside, then I'm going to count that as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if we do that, then I'm going to expect a bigger pullback. So that would be 1 and 2, right? So that's the option, basically coming up here, taking the high, then having a bigger correction later, right? Before the big move. Or is it going to be basically already started, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is A, this is B, this is C, right? Then we get the big move. So there's a couple different ways you can look at that, right? So either we break the top, then get the ABC, right? And then go. Or this is a C wave, we break the top, and that will be the big third wave, right? So we'll see. So either this is the ABC or this is going to be the ABC, right? You see what I mean? But both of them are pointing in the right direction, right? And those can come down way down here. I mean, you just don't know, right? It really depends. Usually you want to aim between that 50 and 618. So let's put a target right there. I mean, we only had a 236 correction, which tells me this is probably not the second wave here, right? Because I know a lot of people are thinking, the correction's over. We're just going to go much higher. And maybe that's true, and I would totally like that very much. And if it happens, hey, I'll be pleasantly surprised. But this wave right here is the same proportion with this wave and this wave, which means this whole thing is part of one wave, which means if that's the case, then we're still in that wave, which means we haven't even begun the correction, right? So at first I was saying, okay, we're coming down. This is looking like the correction, and it could still be a correction, right? For example, like I was just saying, actually, let's zoom into the 4-hour chart now, so we have a little bit more detail, right? And by the way, before I jump into it, this this right here was a pretty big pump. So if I had to guess, if tomorrow Trump speaks, yeah, it's tough. I mean, I guess it can continue higher, but I mean, we did come pretty high, right? We got through a lot of the resistance areas. I mean, heck, we're sitting here right above the 786, right at the 886. This is the last thing before another hit. But just the way it came up, it just seems like, if this is wave one, we need some correction first before we come up, right, and hit the high like this. And to me, that would be the end of the fifth wave, right? So then what you have is a 1 2 1 2, right? And then you have 3 4 and then 5. So if that's the case, then that means we haven't started the real correction yet. These are just little pullbacks, right? So there's a difference between a pullback and a correction. A pullback is, just pulling back in the same immediate wave. But a correction is actually a whole different wave, right? That's separate from this wave, right? And if these are the same size, then that means they're in the same wave, which means we're not finished with this first wave, which is actually a good thing, not a bad thing, because the bigger this wave can get, the bigger the third wave, or I should say, the less of the work the third wave has to do getting through the retracement levels, because we want our third wave to have no resistance at all, right? That way it can fly as high as possible. So the more work this wave can do, the better, right? The better off that third wave is going to be. So we'll see how all that plays out. But really, I think that's our two options here. So, just real quick again, either this is 1 2 3 4 5, then we correct, or this is 1 2 3 4 5, and we're in the correction now. The pump we just got was a B wave, and that kind of would make sense to me. That this pump like this, because of the supposedly the headliner is going to be Trump, right? Speaking to a crowd of crypto, right? Bitcoin. So people are front running something, right? And usually that's oftentimes a B wave, right? And it's always the counter trend. Just because Trump is pro crypto doesn't mean it's going to pump when he starts to speak, because markets move rationally. So this move here was already preempted of him speaking. So if it dumps, people will say, oh, it's bad for crypto because it dumped. Trump's bad for crypto because it dumped. When in reality, if you zoom out, the people in the know knew he was going to speak, right? Obviously, look at, we've been going up, 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 up. So, it really depends. But what I'm going to say very, very confidently is this is not about what happens to Bitcoin when Trump speaks. This is about what happens for years and years and years down the line, the macro growth, the macro, the long-term sustainability of crypto, right? And that's going to be huge. So people, during these, Bitcoin talks, Bitcoin conferences, a lot of times it dumps, right? I mean, look how many times Bitcoin's dumped when there's been some kind of big Bitcoin conference, right? I mean, it happens all the time. People, most people have to get the trade wrong, which means very little people get the trade right. And what people expect is for it to go up, right? Because obviously it's bullish news. But just like sometimes it's the opposite, right? Like, for example, when you zoom out on Bitcoin and you look at it from the opposite perspective, right? Not good news, but bad news. Where did the worst news come in at? It came down here, right? Right? Remember when FTX and Three Arrows Capital, Celsius, all these major problems in here, right? But that actually happened to be the bottom. We haven't had really good news yet, right? So we can't say for certain that this is the top, which I don't think it is, because I think it's part of a wave 4, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, and we still need 5. And, Trump speaking is an awful good way to start the 5th wave. That's a big statement right there. So, if this is the end of the bull market, right? So, for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's say Bitcoin gets $100,000 plus. Alt season's kicking off, right? Distribution occurs. You get a big alt season, right? So this first wave here is part of that 5th wave, which means if this is some kind of Trump sort of unlocking the door, this is sort of opening to the crypto world, right? Then what better way to do that, to have that brilliant good news, than to come at the 5th wave, which will be the first wave. So, for example, that's one piece of good news. Then it's going to get better news. And then eventually, when you get to the top of the 3rd, there's going to be a lot of good news, right? And then you're going to get a 4, and then you're going to get a 5. And actually, the 5 is where you get like tons of good news. But that's actually the best time to sell, because everybody's buying, right? Everybody's buying Bitcoin because the news is so great. The euphoria is so great. Everybody's making money, so you can't lose. So it feels amazing, right? Just like how down here when FTX was collapsing and everybody said we were going to 10K. And I was like, no, we're not going to 10K, right? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got 5 waves. And we had divergence between the 4th and the 5th. And that 5-wave move was part of an ABC, an expanded flat. So there was it didn't make sense, right? That's why all that bad news deterred you from buying. Well, not you, because obviously but most people, right? Most people anticipated much lower prices. So that's what we're going to do. And that's why you got to click subscribe, because you got to hopefully, right? And this is not financial advice. I could be totally wrong. Remember that. I could be totally wrong. But for me, I'm just going based off what I see and based off what's happened before. So it's all about, trying to put the puzzle pieces together, right? So we are in election year. That's another reason for a 5th wave, right? We have the Federal Reserve potentially going to lower rates. That's another reason, right? I would imagine that it would pump into the lower rates, but then when we get the lower rates, when they actually start lowering, that's when it's really bad, right? That's when it's bearish. But then once the cutting cycle is over, that's when things can get bullish again. So, but that's a video for another day. So anyway, just wanted to highlight that real quick. So all in all, looking at, first of all, let's go to the 3-day chart. Look how beautiful our 9 buy worked, right? We talked about this the day that it happened, that 9 buy, saying that this is an amazing situation here for a potential reversal, right? Because why? Because we got the 9, but we also had 5 waves, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We also had divergence, and we also had it in the C leg, 1A, B, C, right? So that was important. Now we're sitting right back up at the retracement levels. So it's only a matter of time before this thing makes a big decision, right? Is it going to get rejected, or is it going to go through? Most people anticipate it going through. The problem is they don't anticipate that this could pull back pretty big before it breaks out, right? So that would be a 1, 2. So again, maybe we're not finished here. And it might not be a 2 like this. It could be, correcting through time, not so much price, right? We could get a really shallow wave 2. For example, I've often said something like this where we start to flag out. That would be my sort of anticipation. But if it's not going to do that, then it could just simply either trend sideways or trend with an upward drift, right? And sort of just have some kind of running flat, right? A running flat correction before heading on up to that third wave. A good example is right here. Let me go right there back to this wave. Let me turn the sequential off so it's not as laggy. So you can see actually that happened right here. So we had this whole wave, right? And then we went into this running correction here, which was interesting. So we had like this A, B, C. It was a running flat. And then we had a 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And then it basically was revving up. It's like, okay, that was horrible, but you know what I mean. So it's revving up. That could be another option here, is that we're just sort of revving up, right? So don't always expect it to pull back. I mean, that's why another reason to potentially subscribe, right? Because we're going to want to know how this is going to look. And this is not about Bitcoin. This is about the altcoins at the end of the day, right? But we're trying to gauge what Bitcoin's doing here. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do something like that, right? And then another thing, I forgot to mention this. So if this pulls back and hits the high, then that's only going to be a 3-wave shape. And if it comes down, right, then this is going to be a flat. And then we get the 5th wave before the big correction, and then after that, the 3rd wave, right? So this could come up and break the top. So that's why, when you're sort of in the middle here, right, between, you're right, not in the middle no more, you're at the upper part. But what I mean is, if this comes down and comes up and has that 3-wave shape, then it's going to kind of look like that, unless that 3rd wave really pushes out, right? And then we get that 4, and then we get that 5. So that's another thing. Could it be an expanded flat, right? But me personally, if this is an ABC, this is where I would buy altcoins. If this is going to come up and hit the top, right? If it's going to come up here and hit the top. And by the way, I shouldn't say that, right? Because I've actually been buying altcoins. Why? Because altcoins have been actually dumping a lot worse than Bitcoin. So a lot of them already hit their 618, right? And some even further than that. So, that, and this brings me into the whole other chapter that I'm about to jump into, and let's just do it right now. So, let's see here. I'm going to start with one I haven't talked about, really, is VeChain. And when I talk about VeChain, it's basically not because it's VeChain. It's a representation of the entire alt market, right? So, and what I really like about VeChain is how much it pulled back. This looks like a very bullish wave 1, and this is a bullish wave 2. Now, I don't know if this wave 2 is finished, right? Because again, the wave 2 can do something like this, right? 1, A, B, C, then go, right? Or this is just part of that that entire wave, right? Where we don't need such like a double correction. That's why, it's always good to buy, not financial buys, but the retracements. So if I put that up there, we didn't quite hit the 618, but we got to the 50. But more than that, I really like the way this impulsed. Now, again, it's not saying VeChain. It's basically Confluence that we have a bullish market. So just wanted to point that out. And, looking at this, we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Perfect. And then it looks like we have some type of three-wave shape down, right? A, B, C. And now we have a 1, 2. So are we setting up for a big 3, 4, and 5? Maybe, right? Maybe a big, and I would imagine it would be a lot bigger than that. Something like this, right? So this would be 1, this would be 2. All of this is 3. And what we have here is the 1, 2 of the third, of that primary third, right? So when you zoom all the way out on VeChain, and not just VeChain, but many other ones as well, like Theta, right? We could get a big third wave. So the again, like I was saying, the trick with the third wave is we don't want the third wave to battle so much resistance. And since, this first wave, it got pretty decent. Let's see here. If I put the retracement on, I'm going to do it on log scale to be fair. Let's see what it is. So that wave 1 almost hit the 50. That's pretty decent, right, for a wave 1, especially since the bear market was so incredibly brutal. I mean, look at this thing. But we like that, right? We want it to be brutal because, hey, that's more prices on sale for us to scoop up, because it's not about how bad it is. It's about ultimately where it's going. So we want it to be bad because we know it's going to be good, right? 94% down. That's a huge dump, right? So that first wave got to the 50. We had a pullback. The pullback looks to be complete. And now we're heading up into that third wave. Now, there's always a scenario, right, where this gets more complex. And that's probably the hardest part about trying to figure things out is, are we going to have a complex correction, meaning 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? A, and then this is part of a B wave, and we still need to get C and then go up, right? Right, maybe not that deep, but you see what I mean. A, B, C, and then go up, right? I don't know. I'm not sure, because the duration of this correction is a lot longer than the size of this, right? So that duration is a lot longer, and that's exactly what we were just talking about Bitcoin, right? Is that wave on the smaller time frame, is that over? We'll just have to see. So that's enough for VeChain. Let's move to same thing with Filecoin. I mean, you can see it. This is a 1, 2, 1, 2, and the second 1, 2 has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then looks like an ABC down, and then it looks like a 1, 2 of the third. So this could get really bullish in here. And if it doesn't get bullish, then I still would expect it to go up in a retracement, right? Part of a bigger correction. So A, we still got to go up for B, and then get C, and then go. It could be, and since it came down so much, depending how high we get, this could be a running flat, or it could be, a running flat. So, but otherwise, more complex. All right, XRP. So the thing about XRP is, it kind of needs a pullback here. I mean, we're getting some dojis. We've been going up quite some time. Let me turn the sequential on here. Let's go to the daily. So we had a 9. Okay, yeah, that's what I want to talk about. Okay, now I know. So let me just zoom out real quick. And just real quick, when we look at XRP, I'm comparing it to what happened before, because that's the only thing I can do, right? I mean, what else can I do? The only thing I can do is compare what happened before. And what happened before is exactly what's happening now. And it's just funny. Like, it's just like too good to be true. And maybe it is. I don't know. But to me, right? We had a rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways breakout. And in reaccumulation, we were bouncing, 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 and then we had a liquidity grab in the blue, and that's when we shot up. That's exactly what's happening now. Rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways, bouncing, bouncing, bouncing in the yellow, came down for a liquidity grab in the blue, and then we had a very sharp impulse to the upside, right? So this thing could be in the makings, right? This could be a wave one. So wave one, right? And then we get a wave two, and then we get a monster wave three, hopefully. Hope, that's the hope, right? But that's the idea, right? So it doesn't matter what we hope. We can hope for it to rain Lamborghinis. It doesn't mean it's going to happen. But that's the idea, right? And this, and you can say, well, why is that? Because it's where it should be, right? Where it should be. Look how long XRP's been correcting. It's the most different chart out of all of crypto, but it also makes a lot of sense, right? And before I get into the small time frame, I just wanted to say that I did catch BCB's XRP video, and I liked how he talked about the privacy coin and the fact that the basically the fractals, right? And that fractal, which is, let me show you, which is right here, right? And you can see this is XRP back in the day. And if you look at what Monero's doing right now, and this doesn't mean anything about Monero, but it basically means, hey, if Monero's looking like what XRP looked like, then that is a positive sign for the whole market, right? You can see all of these areas, right? I don't even need to draw it because it's already there. I mean, just pause the video and compare both of those, right? It looks like we should get something like that. Doesn't mean today or tomorrow or even next week, but at least sometime potentially very soon. So that's definitely something we have to keep an eye on for sure. And just real quick, I haven't looked at Monero in a long time, but now that I look at it, I'm like, wow, yeah, this is definitely shaping up to be something very interesting, right? Why? Because you can see it, right? You got a rise, you got a crash, you have a retracement, then you come down for reaccumulation, now you're going sideways. Rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways, blast off. It's like perfect, right? And you could see this was a three-wave retracement, and that took the top out. And what's really interesting is not the fact that it's in reaccumulation, but we did have, as BCB said, we did have a very shallow retrace, and he's correct when he says that when you have a more shallow retrace, you tend to have a bigger third wave, right? So I'm not saying that's going to happen with that Monero, right? But it is under that privacy coin feature. So maybe there's a catalyst, right? That sort of has, it could be a cyber attack, right? On the financial system. A lot of people think that, right? Or something along those lines. Something that makes people, right? Like maybe a data breach where people start to feel like I'm being watched by big government, right? Obviously, people know that, but what if there's like some big thing that breaks out, a story or something, and that makes people push towards privacy coins, in which the news gets circulating, people start to panic, right, because of whatever happened. Because I do think privacy is a very, very big concern with a lot of people, especially as technology advances and data. You get data breaches all the time, right? So, and especially with banks and payments and all basically privacy, right? People want that. And if there's some sort of event that pushes people to say, okay, that's it, I need to look for something else, right? This isn't working. Maybe somebody's Chase Bank account details got leaked or I don't know, whatever, right? Something that pushes it up. And it would make sense because of where it is in the chart. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I have no clue, right? This thing could just go down and down and down and down and down, right? But what I'm saying is it looks set up for upside. And Monero is not on my watch list. I don't look at the chart. I saw the chart today, and I go, I got to take a look at that. So I've been looking at it, and I'm thinking, wow, this thing looks primed. So did I buy any? No, I haven't bought any. What would it take for me to buy? Let's see here. I mean, again, you don't need 10 different altcoins, right? You don't need 20. You don't need, I mean, you really just need like 3 to 4, maybe 5 at the most, really, really good ones, right? Because again, you don't want to spread yourself too thin and have 100 different altcoins, because eventually you're going to consolidate them somehow, some way, right? It's a lot to manage. But you got to be diversified as well. So it's kind of tough. To me, this looks like a 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, 1-2. The question is this as long as this? I don't think so. To me, it looks like it needs to do this, then this. So A, B, C, then this. If we get that, I would consider buying it for sure. Just simply based on the structure. It's a privacy coin. It's been around since 2014. It has a lot of trading history. It had a very massive bull run, right? I mean, it was down here at basically 25 cents or 20 cents, right? And it went all the way up to like almost $500. That's amazing. And now what it's doing is it's building a base. And this is another massive base, right? One of the biggest bases in crypto history alongside XRP. And it definitely deserves it too, but how strong this was, right? And it only had one rally, just like XRP, right? Had one rally. So if I actually, that's not going to work because I'm on log scale, but let me do it on percent. And then I'll put XRP up there too. You can see they're very, very similar. Maybe not down to the exact T, but the basic overall structure, which is rise, crash, retrace, and now it's in this long sideways reaccumulation. Okay, so that's enough of that. Let me continue moving forward, and let's go to XRP on the small time frame. And let me show you what I'm seeing here. This is the big one here, and I'm going to get to Theta as well. Let me go to log scale. Let me take that off. So this is our wave we've been looking at. Actually, let me go to the 4-hour real quick. Yeah, okay. This is basically a 5-wave move, right? And you know, what the heck is that? Right? So we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is idea number 1, okay? So idea number 1 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's wave 1, and this is A, and this is some kind of weird B wave. So A, B, C. So some type of 3-wave move up. And now we're going to get C, and then we'll go. Right? So it could be some kind of flat, or just an ABC, and then go. So that would be 1, 2, and then we'll get that big 3rd wave, hopefully. So that's idea number 1. Idea number 2 says that either the 5th wave isn't complete. 1, 2. All of that's 3, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 waves in wave 3. So that's 1, 2. All of that's 3. This is 4. And now we're in the 5th, but it doesn't look like a 5-wave move. But it could be a truncated diagonal. Say, what? Yeah. It could be, I mean, that's the only thing, maybe, right? It could be a truncated diagonal, which means I don't like it though. I don't even know if it's allowed. I don't know if it works. The third wave looks small. I mean, it's kind of, it is what it is. So basically you'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have some kind of diagonal here, some kind of wedge, right? Which means you need an A, right? Something like that, and then a B, and then a C, and then go, right? So that's what that would mean. Something like that. Maybe not that deep, right? Maybe something that gets us down right into here somewhere. It could be some kind of running flat, right? It's a tough one. It's kind of difficult wave structure, but when it's difficult, you just have to look at it and is it a correction or is it an impulse, right? I mean, this looks like an impulse. This looks like a three-wave shape. So I have 5 here. So that's an A. I have 3 here. That's a B. And then it looks like I have 5 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a C. So I got an ABC right here. So that's an ABC. And it looks like I have another A, B, C here. So I have another 3-wave shape here. Okay, so I have 3 here, and I have 3 here, right? And maybe that 3 isn't finished yet, right? Maybe it has to come down deep. I don't know. It kind of looks like it's 1-2ing, 1, 2, 1, 2. It looks like it could drop, right? But if it did, it would have a nice 3-wave shape. Then what would I expect after that? Then I would expect either a 3 or a 5 in the opposite direction. So we have 3 up, 3 down, and then we would get 3 back up, or we would get 5 back up, right? Which means what? Which means the whole thing becomes, this whole thing becomes A, and then B, and then C. So the whole thing becomes A, B, and C, right? So let me just clear that up. So A, and then we have A, B, C. 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 This would be C. So it could be a big 3-wave shape, right? And usually if it's big like that, it could be some kind of running correction where then you would get that wave 2, right? So this whole thing would be A, B, and then you would get C. And basically you would get a running correction where you stall out here and then have that big wave up. And then you can see, what is it doing? It's revving up. So boom, that's what I think could be what's happening here. Because I was on vacation. I'm hearing, I get home and I'm listening to what people think, and some good, some I'm not sure. But this is my own take, and this is kind of how I'm feeling here. Is I think this is part of something bigger. So to me, this doesn't look finished yet. So again, let me just very quickly recap here. This could be subtype of A, B, C. It could be as simple as that, and then we go up. And that's what I would hope, right? Give us something easy. Or this could turn into something complex. Something like that, right? Or simply, this is the 5th wave, and it's just it's a truncated diagonal, right? And this is the 5th wave, and then we get A, B, C down. So those are the 3 ideas. So, it is overlapping, right? So I'm thinking it's a correction. But it could be also idea number 4, which is just another variation, rise, crash, retrace. We're coming down to reaccumulation. We go sideways and then we break out. Something like that. Where this diagonal, and that's the truncated, or that could be like a wave 1. So this would be wave 2, right? But I don't like that as a wave 2 because the duration matches up here. So it makes me think it's part of the same wave. So, but regardless, it doesn't matter. Whatever it is whatever it is. The whole point of it is it's bullish. Why? Because we got 5. So, and it's an impulse, right? So I'm bullish regardless. It just depends how it's going to correct. But when I zoom out to the daily chart, definitely on some strong resistance. There's a lot of price action in here. There's a big cluster of candles in here. So there's a lot of resistance. So we came way down here all the way up. I don't know if we can break it on that first shot, especially since we're doing it from down here, right? Maybe we can, but it's more likely we get a correction and then a breakout. So that's all I'll say about that. It would make sense from the lawsuit perspective if it does indeed wrap up this summer. I know there was some controversy over, there was a meeting, settlement talks between the SEC and Ripple, and it got canceled. So they rescheduled it. So who knows? You're never going to get the real gist of it. The only people who really know is obviously would be Brad Garlinghouse and the whole legal team and things like that. So when we get the news, we'll get the news. But until then, we look at the chart. And to me, the chart looks bullish because overall, right, you have an A, B, C, and then you have another A, B, C. So you have 3 up, 3 down. So we should get 3 up or 5 up. If this is not part of an ABC, then you can say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a diagonal A, B, C, and now this is a 1, 2, then we get 3. So we'll see. CRV real fast. Yeah, so look at CRV. CRV had a nice correction. This is what I like to see. Right? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Boom. And then we have an A, B, C. I mean, that's exactly what we wanted. That's exactly what we wanted. So, is the ABC finished? I mean, it's possible. I don't have 5 yet. That's the problem. I have 3. And that first wave is pretty big, and the third wave is pretty small. So, if we do have to sort of range in here a little bit, then whatever, but I think it looks pretty good. And where did we pull back to? Right? We had a 5-wave move, and we pulled back to the 618. We had a perfect 618, and then we had this. It looks like a pretty strong impulse, but I don't have 5 waves yet. So we're still going to have to keep an eye on this one. But it looks really good. We got a double bottom here, and we had 5 off the double bottom, and we have a 3-wave pullback. So it looks good. Cannot complain at all, right? A lot of price potential in this one. That's why I keep going back to it. So we'll see. All right, Theta. Last but certainly not least, let's look at Theta. So, not much has changed, right? We're still, I'm just looking at the weekly chart here. We still back tested this, and we're holding off nicely. So we're in that back testing process. We had obviously that pullback down into the back test zone. We had that impulse off of it, and now we're pulling back. So once this pullback completes, I want to see a big push to the upside that gets us back up into here, right? Let's get into those retracement levels. I have a good feeling that we will get back into those retracement levels. So let's look at that here. Let's go to the 2-day chart. That's our fractal we were looking at. It's not really as good as a proportion as I want it to be, but something like that, right? So let me just remove that now. Yeah, so we're still holding up in here, right? We broke the top. It could be an inverse head and shoulders, right? So let me just turn that to yellow, tone it down a little bit. Let's go to the lower time frame, and yeah, I'll just remove that altogether. So I mean, I see a nice inverse head and shoulders here. I don't know about you, but that looks pretty nice to me, right? The head has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, perfect. And this wave 2 is longer than this wave 4, so that's really good as well. So to me, it looks like we're in wave 1 of 3, which seems like kind of surreal. Like if it really is, then we should get a wave 2 equal to that of something like this, right? Something like that. And then hopefully we get a big third wave. I mean, that's what I'm hoping. And I think we will. And the reason why is because we also talked about the gaps, right? Let me zoom out a little bit here. So there's a gap between these lows and these highs, and you can see right here it's a straight shot down, just like how it was a straight shot up, right? So meaning if we break above here, there's no price action, right? So there's not really, it's basically like an empty space, like an air pocket. So when the price breaks above and it confirms it, there's a likelihood that it could just go boop, like very, very fast. Maybe one or two candles, right? Up to $1.90. And then I would expect a pullback here so that we can fill in the gap by back testing and confirming this as the new support. Which, if that happens, then that means that's not the third wave. That's cool, because that means that this is a 1-2-1-2, which means now the third wave is starting from a higher point. So instead of it starting down here, it would start up here, which is a lot better, because then that means you'll have more momentum going higher. You see what I mean? 4 or 5, right? We'll see how that plays out. Another idea is to just say that, again, this is just 1, 2, and we get a more complex wave, and then we go up for that 3, 4, 5, right? Yeah, let's zoom in here. Let me just zoom in really. See, so I think it could be complex because we had 5 waves down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this could be A, and this could be B. And maybe that Trump speech gives us a little bit of a push, right? But it's actually just a B wave, and then we come down for C. It could be a flat, or it can just be, regular ABC, and then come up, right? This will be wave 2. So that's how I would think here. But if we get up here and we start pushing through, maybe this is the third. So we'll just have to wait and see. If it gets more complex, then this would just be another opportunity to buy. This would probably be the best opportunity you'll ever have, if in fact what I'm saying is true, which is this is a 1 and this is a 2, and now we're about to go in that third wave. And that third wave is coming from this 1 2 1 2, right? I don't really like it as much as a 1 2 1 2, simply because, I mean, I guess so. Let's see, from basically meaning from a time perspective. So it took approximately 73 days. Usually wave 4s take longer than the wave 2s, but not by too much. 74 days. This was 116 days. So we'll see. It's not in the realm of absurdity, but it's a little bit longer than you would want, but it is what it is, right? The point is, it's corrective. This is impulsive. This is corrective. So whatever it is, it's bullish, in my opinion. So, but the only way this works for the altcoins, and I speak for all of them, is if Bitcoin gets that fifth wave. That's all we need. We need Bitcoin to break with conviction above 71, 72, 74K. If we do that, it gives a lot of momentum to the altcoins, and they can move very fast. So we'll see. We'll see how it all plays out. But I wanted to get a video out for you guys. Yeah, that's enough for today. We'll resume back hopefully this weekend, and we'll touch on other things like the weekly close, potential, looking at the correction, trying to figure out, a game plan, a strategy, right? Because for me, if this is it's all about, right? If this is a wave 1 here, if this is the start, then that means I want to buy the wave 2, right? Because if this is for trading and for hodling, right? So if this is a 1, I want to get that 2, because once that 3 starts, it's so hard to get in because it moves fast. I mean, look, if we had green, you're like, okay, pullback's coming, and it just goes, and it basically leaves you behind. So we could be somewhere right in here, right, before we really get going. So we got to pay attention how this corrects, and we're going to talk about that as the week goes on. So make sure to hit like, subscribe, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Cheers.